Everyone. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Forbes Factor. This is one of my favorite hours of the week where I get to meet the most wonderful people from around the world and focus on health, wealth, and happiness. But of course, we always go so much further. My guest today is a woman that I've been stalking for a very long time. I think since that movie, The Secret. I've been just kind of hearing about her and wondering, and then all of a sudden we started showing up at events together, but I don't know that she knows this. She is a specialist when it comes to Feng Shui. And if you don't know what that is, you are in for a treat. My interpretation of this has to do with how your environment speaks to your heart and your soul, but it's so much more. But I did the basics. I fell in love with this crazy art or science or however you want to call it several decades ago. And I took trainings and I bought books and I hung crystals and I moved plants and I made things. And I just, if I could spend my time doing that, I probably would. Because it is about harmony, it's elegant. And for me, I ended up in the martial arts. That's where I really went in the terms of the Eastern philosophies. I got mugged in my early 30s in Los Angeles. I was going out of a theater one night, and a group of kids in a car drove up behind me, got out, grabbed my purse, and I had that moment going, ooh, I should kick him in the groin. And he hit me. And I don't know if you've ever been hit. Yeah, many people have. I hadn't at that point. I was in shock. I peed all over myself. I told them to take my purse and just run before they hurt me more. And I drove the next day to a dojo. And I began my love with Eastern arts. And I trained for 4 consecutive years there. I got a brown belt. I'm in several disciplines from Aikido to Wing Chun to Taekwondo. And so it was a natural thing when I fell in love with why is Eastern the way it is? And I'm on a quest, a Feng Shui quest. So I would love to bring to the stage the one and only, spectacularly beautiful inside and out, Miss Marie Diamond.
Oh, thank you so much, Forbes, and thank you for sharing this beautiful story.
You know, it is interesting what leads us on the path that we almost sometimes don't know we're going down, correct?
That is so true.
Would you share with us, where is your beautiful accent from?
Well, I'm originally from Belgium, so from the Flemish side, so I still have a little bit of that accent.
You have enough to make you exotic and
Yeah,
mysterious.
yeah.
And tell everybody a little bit about you.
Well, I started dabbing into feng shui when I was 15 years old, so many years ago. Uh, and I was living in Belgium, but I had at that time, I just got through also a major traumatic experience, like you were just sharing yourself. But I was actually hit by a truck. I was declared dead, and I had a near-death experience. And so when I was on the other side, I received a message that I was here to enlighten more than 500 million people. Now, of course, as a teenager, I had no idea what that meant. Catholic background, so we didn't talk about any of these concepts. And I thought like it's about making a difference. But at that time, after the accident, I was very sick. I really had a hard time to really study. My brain was not functioning well. And that's when I connect with a spiritual mentor that told me that I had bad feng shui. And so that was the first time I heard this information. So I started practicing some basic feng shui principles because there were really no books or courses out at that time. And again, I'm in a Western country that was totally not aware of any of that information. And then I actually, because I thought like I need to really reach a lot of people and making a difference, I started becoming a lawyer because I thought like if I would become part of a European Union or work for the United Nations, and in that sense, to become a diplomat, a law degree is really handy. So I became an international lawyer. And I started working for the Belgian and later for the European government. And it's only around my 30 that I thought, like, you know what, I was already meditating for a long time since I was 7. So I was very much in the spiritual world already. But then it was when I started teaching people about meditation. I was coaching people at that point already. That I thought, like, you know, people are really missing out on feng shui, the aspect of their home. So I started studying in Malaysia with a grandmaster. And I couldn't go to my local dojo that did not exist where I was. So I had to travel for it. And so I was one of the first Western women that my grandmaster, taught feng shui. And so I became a classically trained feng shui master. And I started bringing that into my courses to really help.
Oh, you disconnected your microphone. She got very, very excited at that moment to talk about feng shui and just, no, we cannot hear you.
All right. Can
There
you
you
hear?
are. Yes, you're back. No, no,
So
again, let me hear you. Say hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, so yeah, that's kind of how I moved forward. And then when I was doing this work already, doing a lot of consulting, teaching people around, energy work, I actually moved to America, and when I was 38, and that's when I started very fast. Actually, I was mentoring people like Jack Canfield, late Bob Proctor, Marion Williamson. They were all become my clients, John Gray. And so I was a total unknown, but they invited me to the Transformation Leadership Council, was a big mastermind group that Jack Canfield started, and that's where they filmed me for The Secret. And I got into The Secret as the only Western European woman or man. There was nobody else there, and so that's of course The Secret blew up, and I became very well known. And now I have more than 2 million online students, and I have reached with The Secret more than 500 million people. So check.
Isn't that interesting that your spirit guide told you that when you were just a teenager and it came to fruition?
Yeah.
How do
So
you
yeah.
How well, but it doesn't matter when, it's just it's beautiful to see the culmination of this. I tell lots of magical, mystical stories that are hard to explain as an earth person. How after I lost both of my parents, wanted to get pregnant very badly, and I don't know how you explain this, but when I became pregnant, which through IVF, my doctor called me into the office and said, I have to tell you, you're not only pregnant, you're very pregnant. I said, thank you. He said, you're going to have twins. Thank you. They were conceived on March 20th. Well, that's my mother's birthday, the first year after she passed away. And then they were
Interesting.
due on December 7th, which is my dad's birthday, the first year after he passed away.
You give me all chills.
And I take this information, and what it did for me was to let me know that they were going to be very healthy. I was 42 years old. I was definitely, I don't know if they're supposed to carry twins to term, but I pushed out two 7-pound babies. And I think on some level, like you, whatever is using me to guide certain things, that was a little going, just notice that, Forbes, because the odds of that are beyond astronomical. And that's a
Correct.
gift to you just to let you know that things will be okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, I could geek out on this stuff all day long.
Yeah,
We,
yeah, yeah.
and I want people to hear this because I think we are so distracted with information from the phones and the social media and all things that we do that we don't hear the up here. Do you agree with that?
I totally do. And I think it's one of the things that people, they're just not enough in harmony sometimes with themselves to even listen. And they hear so many voices, like literally all day long from all different directions, that they forget to listen to the quietness, to the silence in themselves. And it's in that quietness that then the voice, if you call it the voice of God, of your spirit guide, or whatever you call it, can finally talk to you. And that's why it's so important to go to take time every day to listen, right? Or if you want to journal, if that's your way of communicating with that presence, that's fine. Or to walk in nature, or to work out in the gym sometimes, just that without, music back in your ears, but just to find a place where you can totally be you, right? Instead of being everything else.
How do you define feng shui?
So feng shui for me is a Chinese energy system. So I would compare it with like acupuncture, qigong, tai chi, where we actually work with the two life force elements that we call wind or water, because that's exactly what feng shui means. But what is wind? It's our breath, right? When we breathe in and out, we're creating a flow of air. And we also, the second life force element that we need to survive is water, right? So not stagnant water, but a moving water. And so when we look at that, these are like the two basic elements, but feng shui is not about the body, the physical body that we live in, but about the body that we live in with our body. And that is our home and our space. And so when I started connecting with Feng Shui, um, the first thing I did was like I was very depressed where I was. I had a lot of health issues, had no friends. I was bullied at school, but I was in the northern side of the home, so there was no sunlight coming in, right? And it was very stale, the air. And so the first thing I did with my first information was I moved to the west side where there was sunlight the whole afternoon. I could open the windows, the air was fresh and nice. And so that is when my life shifted. Yeah. And then I started adding colors that I felt very, connected with. And I still wear these colors, like white and orange is the colors I actually painted my room in. And so, because for me, later on, I understood these are really good colors, an earth and metal element. And I started understanding that everything around me was a subconscious message to me, right? So that everything is energy, as you know that, and many people start experiencing it, everything is vibration. And I started understanding that everything I put around me was giving me a message. And so if I look at my first space where I was very depressed in, I had all images of models, but I didn't look like a model, right? So I tried to like be a model for my family, be a model at school, like being top grades. Like I couldn't do that physically because I didn't have that look, right? So, and then I changed it and started painting other things like romance and friends. And literally, I'm telling you, Forbes, within 2 weeks, I had my first boyfriend. The bullies stopped totally bullying me. They became friendly, became friends. It was like this big shift. And that's when I started understanding the first time what I call is that your home is a reflection of you, of who you are, or you can ask yourself the question, is my home a reflection of who I'm going to be, right? So
Ooh.
so that's like a two interesting questions. And so that's when I started really implementing that knowledge and saying like, this is an extension of my goals, right? And so of course there's an energy system behind it that is thousands of years old. They practice this for in many schools, energy. So, but the whole point is right now when I'm teaching to people, I say, and this is actually my newest book, your home is a vision board. Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll tell you, that's very funny that you say that because I will share with you, I built one of my vision board systems on a bagua. So I know what it's like, I'm so excited to share this with you. That's a great, great concept.
Yeah, and it's because I started explaining, of course, after being in The Secret, and in one of the tools in The Secret were people creating vision boards. That became a huge thing after The Secret came out. And so I was trying to explain that to people. And I remember I was in Kazakhstan teaching for 3,000 women when I was trying to explain to them what feng shui was. And I was like, well, it's like your home is a vision board. And everybody got it. And
Wow.
so from that moment on, I was like, okay, now people start looking at their home. And of course, based on your personal birthday, based on the elements that are around you, you can actually build up your home. And so I actually practice feng shui, classically feng shui, based on your birthday, working with the five elements and so on, but also then to understand how it relates with manifestation and law of attraction. And then to really look at, is your space helping you to manifest your dreams, or is it blocking you to manifest your vision?
You know, on every single level, I aspire to this on so many levels. I can remember in the house that I moved in, and I can point out to so many, but when I moved in, I had done the kids' rooms. It was an upstairs, and I certainly look at feng shui. And we're going to talk a little bit about how people can go, "Ooh, how do I get like a nugget or a door, a foot in the doorway?" And my bedroom was just very drab and very okay, and I'd been separated. And I said to myself, I'm looking for the romantic man of my dreams.
Yeah.
Again, I'm not an expert, but I am a big manifester. And the first thing I said to myself, Forbes, because I one of the things I learned was the photos and the images in your bedroom.
Yeah.
And I said, make sure that you have neutral colors. Make sure as a single woman you don't make it so girly that the man coming in won't have a place to fit.
Mhm.
And then I made it this steely gray, Hollywood, sexy, like somebody walked into a glamour magazine. As I was manifesting the man of my dreams, I said I wanted him to look like he walked off the cover of a romance novel.
Ooh.
And the very funny thing now, Marie, I would love you to come to my home. There are 8-foot paintings that one of my students did. She's an erotic artist. She did one 8-foot one of him and one of me, and they face each other. And he literally came into my life, into my bedroom, and never left.
Wow,
Thought,
beautiful.
I built this. I built this for you. I built this for us.
Yeah, you created your vision board, right? You created a romantic vision board in your space, right? And that's exactly, the first thing I say to people, look, look, first of all, what is there at this moment? Is this reflecting, your dreams? And like literally as you created images around you that said, this is what I want. I have seen the opposite, that people put single images of women or men where they're not even looking at each other, they're looking away from each other, right? So, but I'm saying, like, even if each time you come into that bedroom, every hour you're sleeping, your subconscious is still getting that information. So the first step is, what do you hang above your headboard when you wake up? What do you see? Is it romantic? Is it something that fits? If you have your bed all against the wall that nobody can get on the other side, or you don't have two nightstands, is there space in your closet for that new person to come in? Like, indeed, is it too girly? If it's too pinky, I'm like saying, like, it's you have to have warm tones for sure, right? But and also put everything in pairs, like like two lamps, two candles, like put things in pairs to show that energy. But and also one of the things you have to avoid in a bedroom is images of water. Yeah. So when you have water images, you literally are drowning your passion. Yeah.
Ooh.
So if you have that above your bedroom, I'm telling you, there's no passion. I've seen this, I've done tens of thousands of people over the 30 years. And so, but even it could be an image of two, I remember somebody had an image of two tigers,
Oof.
above their headboard. Now you think that's passionate? Two tigers never stay long together. They mate and then they go
Oh,
again
so you want
away,
two swans. They mate for life.
right? That's it. But then you cannot have them in water. Yeah.
Oh, oh,
Right?
that's
So there's like these little details. And so when people start changing that, but also not just a bedroom, like think about your workspace. Like if your workspace, is that reflecting what you are, who you are, what do you bring to the world, right? So is there a place for your certificates? Is there a place for your awards, right? So, and then where do you place that exactly? And so people can actually, when download the free Mary Diamond app. So they can just go and put in Mary Diamond and they get an app and they put in their birthday and their birth year. And then based on that, it calculates an energy number. It's different
good.
than numerology. So don't
Wait,
think
wait,
it's
we're going to do this with you for real because I love this.
right.
And it's funny, I happen to be in my studio, and I will tell you, I practice. I'm so glad that you are here. You literally came into my life today for a powerful reason. And if you're listening to this, you want to listen to what Marie says. Not only get her book, but her teachings and the concept. If you've never heard this, the funny thing is, at the base level, feng shui might be hanging a crystal or moving a furniture or putting a plant. Yes? I'm going
Yes.
to share with you, even if you just do those little things, you will notice a difference, won't you?
Yeah, because you already create a change, right? And so what is the word change means? It means you change the angle, because that's ancient, is the angle of the chi, the angle of energy. So if you have a home and you haven't changed anything in the last 2, 3 years, that means your mind is as stagnant as your home. Yeah, your
Ooh,
heart is as closed as your home. So just changing things around, and I think a lot of women feel that they're like, suddenly they want to redecorate and they want to like repaint something, or they want new pillows or whatever. Just changing something creates a change of perception. Yeah.
I'm opening your beautiful app here, and I'm very, very excited about this. I'll put all my information in, as I
Yeah.
suggest that you do, because Marie is the best in the world at what she does. And
So
that's
yeah, so you need to put male or female because connect with your birth gender, and then you put your birth day in, and it will give a calculation, and it gives a number between one and nine. But what it stands for is that that number gives you an energy archetype, and I'm super interesting to know yours first.
I know, right? That's I'm the same. Definitely doing this.
And then based on that number, you actually will get 4 directions and a special compass that will show up on the app to find out where do you place your important things. Because based on your birthday, there are 4 compass directions that are always giving you good energy, and 4 compass directions that gives you negative energy.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Can
And
you
so,
can you look at somebody and pretty much predict what energy they are?
well, I'm I would say sometimes yes, because of the colors they like to wear. So, or the kind of person that they are. So that sometimes that's very, very clear. So, um, sometimes it's not. Sometimes I'm thinking, oh, it's so surprising, right? So it's not like, it's always very clear. But the moment people give me the number, I can tell most of the time what is going on in their life in the last year, because there's some predictions and energy flow that is happening. So, do you
All
know
right,
your
so
number?
I ended up with number two, the teacher.
The teacher. Okay, that makes total sense for you, right? So, what is a teacher? It means that you always love to know new things. And then once you know it yourself, you want to share it. You cannot hold back. Yeah.
Great.
So, it doesn't mean you're a teacher in school, it means you're a teacher of life. Yeah. So,
Very
any
much
new
so.
thing that you learn is like you cannot keep it to yourself. You need to share it, right? That's like typically you, right? So what you have seen is when you then open the app, you will see there's a number 2 here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm a number 5, I'm a connector. And then under it, it says diamond compass. So if you click on diamond compass, you will
Yes.
get this. Yeah.
Okay, I've got a diamond compass.
Yeah. So what does it mean? When you look at it, you will see your success direction shows up as northeast. So if you can
Okay.
look at it, yeah. So mine is southwest. So what you do, you hold your compass on the level of your heart in the center of the space, and you look where is northeast for you, and for me it's southwest. For somebody else could be east or south. And then you look first of all, what is there? So if you and you look in your room, what is in the northeast for you, Forbes?
Well, it's hard to tell. Let's see. Um,
You
this is a
hold your
very,
compass and you follow the guidance.
that
Where is
what's behind me?
okay? So it's behind you. So there you see the beautiful
Audrey
star,
Hepburn. Right.
Aria Hepburn. So, but interesting enough, I don't like that image so much from her. Why? Because she has to do this. She has to look behind her. Yeah.
Mm.
So it also means that people won't see you for who you really are.
Let
So
me
that would be a
okay.
perfect image of you, right?
So when I created this space that we're in, and most people never get to see the space. By the way, I don't think you have you met Joshua? I think you may have met him at a. He's the cameraman in my world, and
Yes, I met him
this is how
once.
he
Yes.
likes to work. Say hi to Marie.
Hi.
I had him come on the other day. Something broke on my computer, and he leaned in, and he wasn't wearing a shirt, and everyone's like, "How come your tech guy doesn't wear any clothes?" I'm like, "Because I'm lucky." So this is something very funny. I would love to have you here. When you walk into my space, which is definitely so north, I think is that way, you come in and you see Forbes Riley. And you
Yes,
talked about a place for your awards. And when I built my studio, I was modeling it after Tony Little, who had all of his magazine covers, and all of these are all awards.
yes.
And I put them there because that was, and I will tell you, that's make me flourish. But the last thing I just want to share with you is this is my office. At
Mm.
one end is a very powerful picture that one of my students painted for me.
Oh, beautiful.
Symbolizes so much. On the ceiling, I'm a magician. And so you talked about what's over your head. The one that I chose over my head was this one. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And then there's diamonds in my chair because I'd listened to you long before I've met you. And
Yeah,
having that level of success surrounding you
yeah,
informs who and what you are, doesn't it?
totally. Yes. And so it's so interesting. I just want to point something out. I love the fact that when you come in, you see you made what you call a Hall of Fame for yourself.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that is that you have a mirror reflecting your front door.
It's a television.
Oh, it's a television. Okay.
That's the
Is
TV.
it playing? Does it play something? Because otherwise it becomes a mirror. And when you have a mirror reflecting your front door, you're always chasing clients away.
Oh, that's good to know. I will.
So it's very important for you to at least always have a logo up right there,
Okay.
or a reel that is playing constantly. Yeah, because when people come in, they know immediately they're Forbes Riley. It's her headquarters. It's lovely because right now they don't see where they are. Their first expression that they have is a television, and you're not selling a television. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
So I would really like you to change that. Yeah.
Okay, that's
That's
great.
the
Thank you.
first step because literally I could see it affects you as a mirror right now, right?
This
So
is interesting. Oh, I love this.
right? So this is like very simple to do. But anyhow, it will be interesting in your office to hold your compass and see what's in the northeast for you. Like I said, it's your success direction. Somebody else, it can be west or north, whatever. And then place there, first of all, declutter that area. I was just with somebody, and when you open the closet in her success direction, it was full of dirty energy, right? Old stuff. And I said, even if it's a closet, you're actually showing lower vibration. Yeah.
Hmm.
So don't have a garbage bin there or a paper shredder or old stuff there. Put there your certificates, some awards, the most recent ones. I know you have many, I have many, but my most recent ones are in my success direction. Yeah.
I love
And
that.
so I have my books there, right? I know you have many books. So you need to create like almost like a success altar, like a representation. And then you also will see that you have a relationship corner. Now yours is Northwest, yeah? And so Northwest means you need to go global, yeah? So for you, it's important, and this is something that is happening for you even more than any time before. I know you've been very focused, you're very well known in the USA, but there's something changing for you in the next 2 years. And I know you're global, but to even go more global. Now, in order to do that, you need to put in the Northwest a globe. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but put a globe like this. Let me show you. It's like a globe that moves out of itself. So this is a spinning globe. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so because it's moving, you're creating energy. And this way, because I have students in 190 countries, so when I look at the globe, they represent my students. Yeah,
Oh,
they represent everyone I'm connecting with. It's a beautiful symbol. Yeah, but you also can put there pictures or anything you feel that connects. Like I have there some images of my team, some of my high-end clients. I put that all in my direction. Now you're going through a huge transformation year this year for you. So everything you
you
choose
know that because it's
now,
so freaking true. Yes, it is.
it is. It's a very transformational year, but everything you start this year will, like the next 8 years, will bring you to a whole other level. I know you're already so well known, but there's so much new energy coming in right now for you.
There is. I love that you know, it's funny that you sing this. And I didn't know that you had been hit by a truck because I last year was in a horrible bus accident. And it's so interesting where you wait till a bus hits you to change everything in your life.
Yeah. It does. It just gives you this opening almost, right? So it's like you're closing because you at for the same moment you could have passed on that day,
Right.
right? So somehow you're like, I am squeezing now for the most I can out of my purpose, right? For the rest of my life, right? And it's just like that happened for me sooner than you, but that's the whole point. It's like there's like a veil opening up, and now it's like time to be living not you I already know you live your purpose, but to live your purpose like on a whole other level. Yeah.
Yes. I love the fact that you sense that. Do you get a sense that you have something that intuitive? Is it more about feng shui or just who you are?
No, I grew up by seeing energy. So I'm very well known for my seeing capabilities. And some people would call that clairvoyance, but it's one of the things I do for my clients. So I just can tune in and see the blockages that people have. And so for you to really get to that next level for this year, you definitely need to put something purple, like an amethyst, also in the Northwest, because there's this it's almost like this is a time to find a deeper peace in what you do. Like anything that gives you conflict, like inner conflict or conflict on any toxicity you experience, you cannot have that this year. So you need to really go through your whole life and like, where are the toxic areas? Where's the people that doesn't give me the amazing peace and harmony? and you need to let it go, and you need to really focus on whatever gives you the most inner peace this in this lifetime. That's what you need to do. But we then look at what can we place there to create that vibration. And for
Now,
you,
when
it's
you
an
said
amethyst.
you said northeast, let me ask a quick question. Is that physically in space? If I walk in and I go, okay, that really is the northeast, or do I hold your compass to find my
Yeah,
northeast?
so you hold, well, the compass will know where the exact
Oh, it's a
north.
real compass. Okay.
Of course, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's a compass, so it will change, right? So, like right now in my southwest, it's actually behind me. I don't see it, but it's present there. I have there all the things that inspire me, right?
Right.
So I remember seeing you for the first time again when I came back after living for 12 years in Europe, and we were together as I think in an event, and so. I remember I was like, oh, I've always wanted to connect more with Forbes, and you gave me a book, and I actually put that book in my relationship direction, yeah, and so it was like I'm sending out a message. So when you put the things out in your four good directions, you kind of create a portal of energy, yeah. Because even if you do forget about it, I mean, I don't think every day about you, Forbes, but
Yes,
my
I
my
know you.
my home does, right? My space does. Yeah. And this
Right.
is actually what I did. I put a vision board up in 2001, and I put on my vision board and I put it in my success direction. And I put on, I'm going to be in a movie seen by millions of people that will transform the world. And I put an Oscar out, a fake Oscar. I still have that fake Oscar actually. It's actually this little fake Oscar. And it said Best Women. And so I put it there. And so within a few months, I was attracting my first Oscar winning clients. Yeah.
Oh,
I was mentoring people like Jack Canfield. So it was very interesting. And then it led me to be in The Secret that has reached millions of people, of course. And I've been like, I think, in 15 more of these movies. But it's so precise that I remember a certain moment I woke up a Tuesday morning. I thought, like, you know what? I'm only getting Oscar winning clients that have one Oscar. I'm missing out on everybody that has more Oscars. So I bought myself two other fake Oscars. Of course, I'm not an actress, I'm not a producer, I will never probably get an Oscar in reality, but it doesn't matter. It's just sending a message out. And so
yeah.
I put three Oscars up, and it was a Tuesday morning. And the Thursday, the same week, I get a phone call from the assistant of a super VIP client in Hollywood, and she said, "We want you to, come and do all the homes and work on them, work with them to get for the family and the business." And then I'm like, okay, this is interesting. So I go to the space of this VIP, and suddenly I'm going into, they have many homes, and I go to the bedroom of that super VIP, and there are three real Oscars. And now I'm telling you, I can tell the name now because they never let me sign an NDA. So it was Steven Spielberg. Yeah. And I said, like, why is this in your bedroom? Right? I said, I love looking at it when I wake up. And I said, but you don't make Oscars in your bedroom. You make them in your office. So let's move them into your
Ooh.
office.
Is that before or after Kate?
It was, Kate was already part of his life, right? And so,
That's that's such a beautiful intuitive statement.
right? And so that was like a big shift for him. And then the year after, his company created a fourth Oscar, right? So because he was saying, I really been stuck the last 5 years. I didn't get any Oscars anymore. I said, no, because it's the wrong place.
Oh my God. Oh my
Right.
God. I love you. I love you.
So location is everything. Like we say in Napoleon Hill, like in the manifestation, location is everything. Your environment, people focus much more on the people they have in their environment, but they forget the real environment is still affecting them. And according to my grandmaster, 33.3% of your manifestation of your goals happens because your environment is aligned with your goals.
So I
Now,
have a
that's
question.
a lot. So it's better to start focusing on that.
I grew up with a mom who was a bit of a hoarder, who grew
Mm.
up as the immigrant daughter of Ukrainians. and I tend to hold on to certain things.
Yes.
Now, I know intuitively I have a closet. I didn't grow up with any money. We had a lot of issues. My dad was in the hospital for 3 years. So getting any kind of clothes, and I've spent my life, I love kind of designer, funky, fun things. I know two things. Logically, I will never find that piece again. So something I don't want to get rid of because I love the uniqueness of it, but that I also hold on to things. I also have experienced that literally when I go through and I remove a piece or finally let something go, as if by magic, something else comes in. Somebody will give me a piece. I know.
Of
But
course.
but I struggle and I feel it's a struggle to let go of certain things. What do you recommend?
Well, I always say to people, it would be good that every year you let go of at least 10%, yeah, of whatever you have. I mean, and there are things that are broken, perhaps things you want to sell, perhaps things that you want to pass on to a friend or whatever. So go through your home and let go of 10% because then you create what we call a void. And when there's a void, when there's space open, then the universe is saying, oh, she's open to more. Yeah, because otherwise you create a stagnation. Yeah. And so it's the same with books. I love books, right? But every time I get a new book, I let go of a book. Yeah.
Oh, mm,
Right? It's just so simple, right? If I have like every 6 months, we go through everything and we like, okay, 10%, that's out of 10 outfits, it's one outfit. That's not that much, you know? And just out of 10 pair of shoes, one pair of shoes that you're like, you know what, I never really wear this pair of shoes. I will never wear it. We always buy stuff that we ultimately don't use, and I give it away and I give it to goodwill. I give it to friends. I give it, to charity so that there's a movement of flow happening. Yeah. And you don't need to do more than 10%.
by the way, okay, here's a game that I did play though, and I play it often, is I did the one a day rule because I have amassed things. I'm at a certain age now where I've got clothes from high school. And I started going through my closet, and literally every day I would have to go, something in here is leaving energetically. And I will tell you, it was a very freeing experiment to do. Challenging, because there's one days you're like, which one's gonna go? Little Sophie's choice over here.
Yeah, for sure. But that's a really good way to do it. So I have a system I call the 5 bag system. So you open a closet and you have 5 bags or boxes, and you say, okay, the first bag is what I'm going to keep. The second one, it's broken. I let it go. It's trash. Third one is I'm going to give it away to friends and family. I take a picture of it, send it right away to them, and I said, hey, you want it? If they say right away no, then you put it in the fourth bag, who is to give away to charity, and the fifth bag is to sell. Make some money from what you give away, right? And it's such a simple way, but sometimes you need somebody to help you to ask the question, like, does it inspire you? I don't really believe in does it give you joy, because a lot of things give you joy, but is it still useful for you? Does it still inspire you, right? Because sometimes you don't want to let it go because it still inspires you. It could be an old love letter, or could be something, from your childhood that you won't really use anymore, but it still inspires you.
That's a lovely way to look at it. I did something like this. It's funny that we're catching up because I did get a sense that this is a very important year for me, these next year or two. And I hired a woman who was a declutter expert. And oh my God, did I hate her? Oh my gosh, it was like, what is this? Do you want this? What is this? Okay, do you use this? I'm like, yes, I love that. Stop. And I found myself going, okay, just throw it away. I don't want to argue. Take it away. Go. And it was such a fun experience. We did my pantry, we did my bathroom, we did my makeup. I got to tell you, next up is my garage, because I think if you're listening to this and you cannot do it on your own for whatever reason, because you have some emotional things you hold on to.
Totally. And everything has a story, by the way, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so it's
But
good to then bring somebody in, professional or a friend or somebody from your family that keeps just asking the same question, right?
yep, yep.
Uh, are you going to use this, or is this going to inspire you for the next year? I would say go for the next year. Don't go in for 10 years, right? And so go through it. And so I trained my kids to go through it every 6 months, right? And they're like, literally, my daughter a few weeks ago, she's like, Mom, it's been a while. And I start feeling stuck in my bedroom. I said,
Oh,
okay, it's time to get my 5 bags out. Let's go through it. And it's so wonderful to share and to let go of things. And then it's so true. The universe always will bring something new, right? Because you have created space. It's the thing is you're not just creating space in your environment, you create space in your heart, you create space in your mind. Yeah. And that is what it ultimately does.
I love this. You were very active in a thing called Mind Valley. Will you tell me what that is and what you do with them?
Yeah. So Mind Valley is right now the largest online subscription model for self-help and for business. And so I connected in 2017 with Vishen Lakhiani, who is the founder of it, when he actually was kind of getting very stuck in his way at that moment. And he was losing at that time $100,000 a month. And so I came into his life and he didn't believe in anything I was doing, but he said, I'm going to give it a try. So he downloaded my app and I told him what to do in his office. And literally the month after he started making money, and now they're, multi-million dollar company. And so it's very interesting. So he started asking me to teach to the Mind Valley students. I am his personal mentor, so I help him to find out the best decisions, how to grow and work out his goals. And so, yeah, I've been, one of the longest teachers on Mind Valley now. It's a beautiful community.
I love that. I've been a subscriber for many years. I just wanted to hear that from you. You also have a very strong philanthropic view of the world. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I do believe that, when you are really creating impact in the world, that everybody can create impact in many ways. Yeah. And sometimes people think, well, I can only contribute when I have money. But, the biggest asset we have is time. Right? And so we can give and contribute already our time. If it's your local church, if it's your family, somebody in your neighborhood, that's something I started doing when I was 15 after that near-death experience. I started really like every day, look, what can I do for somebody? And I even had calculated if I would become like 85 or 90, how many people, if I would change one person a day. Of course, I'm beyond that right now. But the whole point was I was always looking for it. And that's the first thing people need to do. Sometimes their eyes are just closed, right? That they don't even see somebody needs some help in the grocery store or whatever it is on the parking lot. So just see the problems that are there and see how you can contribute even just with something small, even if it's a smile when you see somebody really having a hard time, a smile, a little nod on their shoulder, like, hey, I'm here for you. For me, it's super important. Of course, now I do it in a much bigger way. We started the Diamond Forest. We have planted more than 500,000 trees in Brazil. I do a lot of charity for in African countries. So for me, it's all part of this, but it can also be just trying to really reach people by being on interviews, by having a free app, by having your podcast, your YouTube channel, like as much as we can share with people, because there's always people that don't have the money. And I'm like you, I've seen the other side of low middle class. Myself, I was homeless at a certain point. I had no money. I had bankruptcy when I was young. So I mean, I've seen on the other side. So I know what it is, and I do feel giving back is always part of your impact.
I was in a Panda Express the other day, and I was sitting with my husband, and a gentleman put a beer down on the outside of the window, and I watched him walk in, and I could get a vibe of that he was hungry and that he had no money. And I saw him watch, and I'm surprised and saddened that I would be the only one in the entire restaurant to notice this. And he walked over to several people, and he was just, just looking, and I could feel his heart. And I took my plate and I made it half of it and I put it all in a thing. It was a to-go thing, and I walked up to him without saying a word, and I gave it to him, and the joy, and then he took it and he left. And I thought, do people not see these things? Do people not look at other human beings? Now, you cannot give to everybody that is there in the world. But when the opportunity is there, and that's just a small little micro, and I hesitate to say what I did because it's not about me, but it was about the awareness and what we do in this world. So I honor you for giving back and believing that that is an important aspect of our lives, because I don't think people do that. I think they, well, when I get money, I'll give it away. No, like you said, it is time, it is treasures, it is love, it is a smile. And so if you're listening to this event right now, I challenge you to go out and do something nice for somebody. Just look around and find someone who's not living your life and go, a little something. I
Just a
promise
little
it makes you a
something.
nice person.
Yeah, I do remember once I was living in Richmond upon Thames in London, and it was a very cold winter day. And I had passed a homeless person, and I have this rule. I'll give money to the first person I see, and I give the highest banknote that's in my wallet. If that's $100, if it's a $500, 500 euro note, I will give it. And that's like a tradition with me. And and sometimes, it's like, whoa, that's a lot of money. But hey, it's the highest banknote. I give it to the first person. That person represents God. I don't judge that person for whatever he is in that situation. If he's on drugs or whatever, I don't make a decision on that.
Love
I
that. That's
give it,
God.
right?
Yes.
And so, and I remember going around and I was talking to a homeless person. I gave him money. He said, "Oh, it's so great. And thank you so much." I said, "What do you need right now?" He said, "I need warm socks." And I was like, oh, I never thought about it. It's so cold. So my daughter and I went into a shop. We bought all the warm socks we could go, and we walked around this town, and we started giving warm socks out. I mean, I'm telling you, the joy in people's eyes. They're like, oh, somebody, like, I've been so cold on my feet. I have some extra warm socks. This is just, and then we went out and I got gloves, and it's like not everybody has that kind of wealth to share, but you always have the wealth to at least not ignore these people, and do if you and just talk to them. Or but even if you can't do that and you feel like still a little bit like, oh, that's difficult, do a little prayer for them, send them some blessings, right? Just even that will help them, because you cannot help the whole world, but everywhere you go, you can always say, I bless them, right? Because then you're telling the God, the universe, I'm going to call in blessings. And I remember this one man, and he actually emailed us, and he said, like, I'm homeless, I live in a tent in East LA. And we said, like, okay, you know what, here are a whole bunch of courses, just take them. And so he started doing that. He said, of course, I don't have an amethyst, but he had like post-it notes. And he put things in his tent and he started doing my meditations. A year later, he calls me, he calls the office, not me personally, and he said, like, I am out of the tent. I have a car now, right? And then a year later, he had a job and he had a two-bedroom apartment. And then 3 years later, he sent me a message and said, I can pay you for 1 hour of your time. I have been dreaming of that, to be able to spend an hour with Marie Diamond. Of course, I met him. We spent a whole afternoon, right? Because I was so proud of this man. And now he goes back every Sunday to the tent camp that he's on, and he teaches the information he has shared, that I shared with him. And so, and this is just how it is. It's just, we all have been in a difficult time, and sometimes it's just that one thing we can do. And it's, I say, if it's not something physical, you can always give them blessings.
I am so excited about this conversation. I know that everyone in your world loves you, from David Meltzer, who we're good friends with, to John Asseroff, to Vishan, and I didn't quite get it until now. I saw you from afar, but your heart is so beautiful,
Oh,
and
thank
your
you.
desire to give and the intuition that you see in others. I don't meet many of us. Okay, I'm going to put myself up there that I get you, and I love listening to you. Thank you so much for today.
It's wonderful to meet a sister.
Yeah. Well, for all of you listening, I'm going to say this is a very blessed episode that I would share with somebody who's doubting themselves, who's confused, who feels stuck. There are actionable things that you can do. And we're just looking at the post-it note guy in the tent going, yes. Marie, as we're winding down, give me a hope for the world.
Yeah. Well, when there's a time of chaos and a time of fear, there's also a time of hope and a time of new beginnings. And so we just need to change our experience, right? And so, of course, we are overwhelmed with certain things, but always take time for believing in hope. and believing in the change that is positive for you, because it's what are you tuning into, right? That's the whole question. What is your channel? So if you feel you're really dragged into that situation of fear and chaos, just change that channel in your heart, change the channel in your mind and said, and if you have a hard time doing that, just focus on the gratitude. You still have a home, you still have a family, you still have a job, you still have your health, perhaps. I don't know what you have. I remember at a certain point, I only literally had my life, and I was like, I had to start again, start from scratch again to learn to live, but I said, I still have my life. Yeah. Even if everything else was crumbled around me. So that are the things we can grateful for. And gratitude helps you to change. And of course, listening to people like Forbes and so many wonderful inspirational speakers that literally you can listen on podcasts, on radio shows where you don't really have to pay for, but take your time. If you cannot inspire yourself, listen to people that can give you the inspiration. Yeah, because that's so more available now than when you and I started Forbes on our journey.
Oh, I know. Oh, you are such a delight. Marie, remind everyone how they can find you.
Yes, of course. So, first of all, they can get my newest book, Your Home is a Vision Board, on Amazon and in good bookstores. You can also check out Mary Diamond Official, that is on Instagram, YouTube. I have every few days amazing tutorials that are launching on my Instagram. And of course, you can go to marydiamond.com and download my free Mary Diamond app.
I cannot wait to give you a big, big, juicy, wonderful hug. Until then, you guys, you've been listening to the Forbes Factor. We focus on health, wealth, and happiness. Today, we got a delicious, intuitive, insightful dose of all three. And you're listening to the one and only Marie Diamond. I'm Forbes Riley. Till next time, God bless and good night. Bye, everybody. Let me stop.